Hi, good morning, everyone. Absolutely delighted to be here. And I love the story that Sunil was talking about. And as far as Mr. Gopalakrishnan is concerned, I have been a big admirer, like most of the nation is, of the work which Mr. Gopalakrishnan and his colleagues have done. And way back, about 20 years back, when I was the first time chairman of a Unilever business outside India, I had reached out to Mr. Narayan Murthy that I want to come and spend a day with them in Bangalore. And they had very readily accepted. And that time I met Mr. Gopalakrishnan, Mr. Murthy, Nandan, and that day still has an indelible mark in my memory. So it's absolutely a pleasure, and thank you, Mr. Gopalakrishna, for your thoughts. I totally echo what you say. My intention today is reinforce, but I'll bring it from the consumer angle, why India is going to be the biggest consumption story this decade and beyond. Now, this is a famous quote of Winston Churchill. The inherent vice of capitalism is the unequal sharing of blessings. The inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of miseries. Now, there's a reason behind why I put up this quote. When we started as an independent country way back in 1947, our coffers were empty. We had nothing with us. Just to give you a perspective, our GDP then, at today's prices, was less than the market cap of Hindustan Unilever. We were such a country that we were completely bereft of resources. The Industrial Revolution 1 and 2 had bypassed us. And that time we had no option but to follow the path of socialism, because that was the only way to invest capital in heavy industries, in our technical institutes, in our management institutes. The only thing I would say is we could have well argued, perhaps we should have given up socialism about a decade and a half earlier, rather than pursuing till 1991. Now, who can forget this period? Especially people of my age. We were young managers, and that was the time when forex reserves in the country were nearly empty. We had to cart gold from the vaults of Reserve Bank of India in Nagpur to Bank of England and to Switzerland to get a meager loan of $2.5 billion. But that started the process of reforms in India. So that was a landmark period, and that has changed the way India thinks, that has changed the trajectory of India. If we look at, for the first 4 decades after our independence, India grew at the famous Hindu rate of growth of about 3.5%. Our population used to grow at about 2%. So our per capita income from a very low base was growing at just about 1.5%. That was the story till the reform started in 1991. Now, between 2000 and 2030, Hindustan Unilever, we underperformed the market. That was a period when India had opened up, new competitors came in, there were price wars, we were stressed on market shares, we were stressed on margins, and we underperformed the market, both from a general index perspective as well as from the consumer goods index. Now, what I'm going to tell you is the story of India and HUL, because in many ways it is intertwined. Hindustan Unilever is India's by far the largest consumer goods company. HUL reaches 95% of the households in the country with one or more brands. It has the biggest reach of any company in the country. Now, India is, both Mr. Gopalakrishnan and Sudhi talked about, we are about a $3.5 trillion economy. And since we started on the path of liberalization and reforms, we have grown at about 6 to 7% per annum on a CAGR basis. And not surprisingly, we are today the fastest growing large economy. We were last year, we are going to be this year, and hopefully we will continue moving in this direction. Now, during the last 10 years, the market cap of Hindustan Unilever has moved from $12 billion to $76 billion. So we have created a delta market cap of $64 billion, more than any consumer goods business in India. It is by far the most valuable consumer goods business in the country. There aren't many examples in the world where a subsidiary has created more market cap in dollar terms than the parent company during a 10-year period. Yeah, and I'm emphasizing this because it's not just about Hindustan Unilever, it is about the great opportunity that India provides. And today, HUL is more valuable than some of the marquee global consumer goods companies, be it Kraft Heinz, or be it General Mills, or be it Reckitt Benckiser, or be it Kellogg's. Now, I'm going to tell you the story about transforming and outperforming. And I have, over the years, I've been Unilever's CEO in different parts of the world for about 21 years. And I have codified to an extent what it takes to succeed, whether you are a corporation or whether you are a country. And I'm going to talk about from three axes. One is the mindset that you bring in to your business or to the country. Second is building distinctive capabilities which are hard to replicate, which gives you the competitive edge. And the third is the high performance anatomy that you build in your organization or in the country. Let's start with the mindset. When we were growing up, our population was an albatross around our neck. We grew up in the thinking of Mahalanobis that because of our problems, because of our population, India will never be able to get out of the poverty trap. Today, we look at 1.4 billion Indians as an amazing market for consumption. The other important bit has been India's focus on uplifting the poor. I don't think in a short period of 4 or 5 years, from an index of multi-dimensional poverty, India has lifted, or any country has lifted, so many people out of the poverty trap as India has done in the last few years. And if we go back over a long period, say about 20 years, as a rule of thumb, 1% of Indians have come out from the poverty trap and gone into the lower middle class. The other thing, who better than Chris Gopalakrishnan talking about the startup ecosystem? But what I'm also going to share with you, how a large company like ours have been harnessing that power of ecosystem to build our business and the capabilities within. The other have been the reforms. Now, reforms, again, comes from a mindset. Yeah, there was a period when there was a chasm or lack of trust between business and the government. I don't think today amongst the political elite and the business that exists today. There is still, I would believe, a bit of trust deficit between bureaucracy and India and the Indian business, but that is slowly going away, and I'm absolutely certain in the next era of reforms, there would be judicial reforms, bureaucratic reforms, and the agriculture reforms, which will pivot India to the next ladder of growth. Now, India has reduced the taxation, corporate taxation, and has made it competitive with a peer group country. The second important bit, which has been a tremendous reform, has been the goods and services tax. Goods and services tax, ladies and gentlemen who have come from abroad, essentially implies one nation, one tax. And we came from an era where to move the goods from one state to the other, they were subject to state taxes, subject to city taxes, and about 17 taxes were rolled into goods and services tax. While it has brought in huge ease of business, it has made a huge difference to the logistics in the country. To give you a perspective, our cost per ton kilometer of Hindustan Unilever has reduced by about 30% because of the introduction of goods and services tax. Because we have been able to rejig our supply chain, rejig the number of fulfillment centers we have in the country, and bring down significantly the cost of logistics. From a HUL perspective, we have been very clear that to win in India, first you need to have a portfolio which caters or creates a pyramid and caters basically to all the price point and all the benefit spaces. Now, if we look at India's pyramid, there is about 40 million households which have the purchasing power of, say, the average Western consumer. And if your ambitions are small, or if you're a startup, you could just cater to this part of India and make a big business out of it. But if you want to be category leaders and be in the mainstay of consumption, then you need to straddle the price-benefit pyramid. That's extremely important. We, in Unilever, we have a proprietary measure called a living standard measure. And that goes beyond socioeconomic. It looks at the households, the kind of lifestyle they have, the kind of durables they have, the kind of purchase patterns they have to define the living standard measure. And from this axis, there's still about 55% of the population lives in the bottom of the pyramid, which is LSM 0 to 3. And for a company like HUL, we did not want to miss this opportunity. And I'll explain how we've been catering to them. The second important bit is, as India grows, the game is not going to be about just market shares. The game is going to be about market making. How do you create the markets of the future? What we call as the market development. The third important lens is premiumization is going to be a secular trend. The market is changing, the aspirations are changing. Just to explain to you, LSM 10 to 10 plus, which was about 8% of the population about 6 years back, has now become 14% of the population in the last 6 years. That's the kind of transformation that is happening. And the other is, how do you make your business from a cost lens one of the most efficient businesses, not just in the country, but comparable to the best in the world? Now, this is the multi-dimensional poverty index. So just look at it. 15-16, we had about 25% of the population which was falling below the poverty line. And that has now come down to 15%. This has been one of the most significant shifts in any large country anywhere in the world. And this has also happened because of, in many ways, technology. During the COVID period, because of financial inclusion, because of the unique identity program, which is Aadhaar, which Mr. Gopalakrishnan's learned colleague, Nandan Nilekani, started in the country, India was able to directly transfer money to the accounts of people who needed it most. And during the last 9 years, about $400 billion have been transferred to the poor people to help them raise the standard of living. And what Mr. Gopalakrishnan explained, that India, even during the worst of COVID, did not let any Indian die of hunger by ensuring that every household got 5 kgs of grain free. That ensured the transfer of wealth. Just remember that you can succeed in a capitalist economy only if you have measures to transfer the wealth to bottom of the pyramid. Otherwise, there will be social chaos. And India is doing it today efficiently, effectively, and harnessing the technology. Now, this is a portfolio play. I'm giving you 2 examples of hair and tea. Yeah? At the bottom of the pyramid, we have one of our brands called Clinic Plus, which is on a family health platform. The largest selling SKU of Clinic Plus is 1 rupee sachet where you can get amazing clean hair. Just think of it. 1 rupee is 1/100th of a UK pound. And this is not a corporate social responsibility for us. We make decent margins on 1 rupee of product. I don't think you will get anything in UK in 1/100th of a pound or in 1/100th of a dollar. But in India, we have created that ecosystem whereby with low cost and efficient way, you can still create value and still cater to the population. And then you look at the benefit space, you look at the price points, we cover everything. And not surprisingly, in a market which is very competitive, Hindustan Unilever has 55% share of the hair market. Similarly, it is the tea category, where we took over leadership from our arch rivals about 6 years back. We cover all the benefit spaces and all the price points. That's the way if you have to win in India from a category lens. This is market development and premiumization. Every year, Hindustan Unilever reaches 100 million people with experiential marketing. It is about education. It is about teaching them. It is about giving samples to let them use the product and then following it up. That's how you create the markets of the future. This is what I call as grind marketing as opposed to lazy marketing. And when you create the markets of the future, remember something, you get a disproportionate share of that market. And look at our premium portfolio. Our premium portfolio, which was 22% of the portfolio, is now 34% of the portfolio. And here I'm saying relative premium, which is index 120 and above to the average of the market. This is not masstige and prestige. And the other important bit is, when you get in consumers to your fold, you're able to upgrade them to higher order benefits. This is a great example, where in a laundry care market, as you upgrade the consumers, your cost per wash realization moves from 1x to 7x. And that's what makes a difference to your growth and to your margins. The other important bit for India is that when you cater to bottom of the pyramid, your thinking should not be about a cost plus margin which will make it into a selling price. That never works. You have to start with what can your consumer afford. That becomes your price point. Then you have to re-engineer and work backwards. What's the fair margin and what do I need to do to create an attractive proposition at that price? Now, Mr. Gopalakrishnan was talking about R&D center. In India, we have got 3 R&D centers, global R&D centers, catering to India as well in a very big way. We have 800 scientists, out of which 200 are PhDs. And it's not surprising that 1/3 of the portfolio in India has been created for India. That's not the global portfolio. We must remember that there is nothing like a global consumer. That's a myth. A consumer is always local. So you need to have a deep understanding of the local consumer if you really have to make a difference. There will be the top cream of the market, the Louis Vuitton consumers, who would be very similar. But rest of India, you need to understand them and then only get it. Now, unless you have a cost base which is extremely efficient, you would not be able to compete in the Indian market when it comes to the mass segment. Now, historically, we used to deliver a savings of 3 to 4% of the turnover. That's a good standard. That's what a global consumer goods company does. But by crowdsourcing ideas from across our 22,000 employees, we've been able to ramp up the savings from 3-4% of our turnover to 6 to 8% of our turnover. That's what we have invested behind, ensuring that we can provide products at the right price point and, very importantly, have a rhythm on margin delivery. Just before COVID, in 32 out of 33 quarters, Hindustan Unilever had a profit improvement, margin improvement. That's the rhythm we ensured. And all of you who know public markets, you know how the markets reward consistency. Second is about distinctive capabilities. I think in India, we missed the first two revolutions. The third industrial revolution, we were a small country to really harness the benefit. Industry 4.0 is going to play to India's strength. Yeah, the India stack, which I'll talk about in a moment, or the digital payments, which you've heard Sudhir and Mr. Gopalakrishnan talk about, or financial inclusion. India has opened and brought into the formal financial system, which under normal circumstances would have taken 4 decades. And we have got them into the system in the last 9-10 years. And that's what has also enabled us for direct transfer of benefit. And the other is physical infrastructure. India has a Gati Shakti portal, which brings together all the infrastructure development that's happening in the country. And if you look at that portal, the total investment that is happening between 2020 and 2025 is $1.3 trillion. It's not only that the Mumbai has been dug up. We have a coastal road coming up, we have metros coming up. But if you go to tier 2 cities, you go to tier 3 cities, freeways, highways, metros. What happened in the US between 1880 and 1920, that's what is happening in India in terms of physical infrastructure. We've got 150 airports now, and by the end of 2030, we'll have close to 200 airports. Air India and Indigo have placed the largest orders with the airline industry, aircraft manufacturers have received in the last 24 months. Now, from Hindustan Unilever's perspective, I'm going to share with you what are the capabilities that we have built which are distinctive and hard to replicate. But let's first talk about the India stack. India stack at the bottom was first giving an identity to nearly every Indian. Just like a GPS tells you, where am I? Aadhaar tells you, who am I? On top of that, the payment layer has come in. On top of that, the data layer has come in, ensuring that in a secured way you can share the data and bring significant reduction from a business cost perspective. There is no country in the world today which has at this scale used data for public infrastructure. It comes from a very simple mindset that data is a public asset as opposed to the walled gardens of the West. And that's what is making a difference. Unique identity. Thanks to this unique identity, Jio, when they launched their telecom, and when they entered into telecom venture, they were able to enroll millions of Indians within a period of 6 months. In fact, if I remember correctly, 100 million subscribers were enrolled in the first 6 months because the KYC, You did not have to do it in a physical manner, and that was done, yeah, only because we had a platform called Aadhaar. The coming in of Jio and the low cost of smartphones has completely changed how Indians communicate with each other, how we do business, and how we look at opportunity. The cost of data in India is the lowest in the world. And that's made such a big difference. Just look at it. From rupees 228 per GB to coming down to 18 per GB within a period of 2 years. That was the magic that happened. And what the data was being consumed in 1 month, starting getting consumed in 1 day. And this is just the beginning. Mr. Gopalakrishnan talked about, or Sudhir spoke about, the credit card machines. We have at best about 40, 50 million credit cards in the country. And today, you don't require a Wi-Fi, you don't require electricity, you don't require a POS machine. And for digital payments, just with the QR code, we have got nearly 300 million people who use it extensively. There are 70 million merchants. A small roadside vendor today has redefined his business proposition through a QR code. You don't need to carry cash when you move around in India today. A classical fast-moving consumer goods supply chain or a value chain is about plan, source, make, deliver, a linear value chain. Thanks to data and technology, we are creating ecosystems. Consumer ecosystem, customer ecosystem, and operations ecosystem based on data and technology. What I'm going to show you is a short AV on what Hindustan Unilever has done in the last few years as far as harnessing data and technology is concerned.
India is undergoing a rapid transformation underpinned by digitization that is changing the way its citizens work, learn, and connect. Nearly 2/3 of its population uses the internet regularly through the convenience of a mobile device, which are becoming increasingly affordable. These have been supported by Digital India, the government's roadmap to a robust digital infrastructure, expansive internet connectivity, and increased digital literacy. HUL has been on this journey with its industry-defining transformation program called Reimagine HUL that has purported the mantra of rapid experimentation over the years, from an umbrella of experiments to holistic business transformation, enabling us to seamlessly connect our consumer, customer, and operation ecosystems, leading to a superior experience for all our stakeholders. We are transforming from traditional linear value chain to connected ecosystem across consumers, customers, and operations enabled by data, technology, and analytics at its core. This enables the development of modular interconnected capabilities, allowing us to create a frictionless solution for superior experience while improving agility and responsiveness across the business. In the consumer ecosystem, we are bringing together capabilities across trend watching, sizing, testing, and production, which has allowed us to reduce lead time from months to days. We are doing this by leveraging data, tech, and AI to discover and predict future trends to target the biggest opportunities. Our data labs use advanced automation and 3D prototyping to enhance the speed of launching innovations. We have built digital capabilities that span the consumer journey from consideration to purchase. Experimenting early with new-age marketing tools like beauty tech and new media vehicles ensures consumers are experiencing our products and services like never before. In the connected customer ecosystem, we are sustaining our distribution advantage through competitive moats across demand generation, capture, and fulfillment enabled by digitization and analytics. Our eB2B ordering app Shikhar now reaches over 1.2 million stores. With the ease of anytime convenient ordering and wide assortment, Shikhar has clocked 1.5 billion euros in sales in 2022, making it India's largest e-B2B app. We are also wiring up the backend with Project Samadhan. It enables anytime ordering, high assortment, and reliable next-day delivery, which is critical to be competitive. Our supply chain is undergoing a transformation across the verticals of plan, source, make, and deliver. The end-to-end integration will be enabled through a nerve center, which will combine the four verticals to enable real-time information flow and intelligent decision-making to unlock business value. Our Dapada factory has been recognized externally by the World Economic Forum as India's first digital and sustainability lighthouse. Data, tech, and analytics is at the heart of the Reimagine HUL program. The key streams are managing data as an enterprise asset, democratizing access and advanced analytics for decision making. Our cross-functional integrated data lake brings together data across internal, partner, and external data sets such as macroeconomic and weather signals. We have developed tools like Chanakya, which helps users search any query across billions of rows. Its simple Google-like interface and less than 10-second response time promotes a culture of self-serve and data collaboration. Jarvis, our in-house predictive data science tool, helps us uncover complex relationships between the variables such as price, distribution, media, to help us make cross-lever investment optimization decisions at a de-averaged level and reduce bias from decision making. Making HUL truly future fit. As we digitize our operations and consumer journeys, we are investing in right talent, creating new partnerships, as well as an agile organizational structure to accelerate this journey. Reimagine HUL has delivered end-to-end business impact, and it's a vital process to stay competitive and future fit in the digital age.
Harvard Business School has just done a case study on how a large company which is not digitally native can reimagine itself and become a highly digitized company. The other important bit I want to talk about India is the heterogeneity of India. India is not a homogeneous country. Before running the business in India and South Asia, I used to chair Unilever's business in North Africa and Middle East. We had 20 countries. Those 20 countries had more in common than the 29 states of India. There was one religion predominantly, one predominant language, one predominant culture. In India, it's very different. The languages are different, the palette is different, how you define beauty is different. And your category penetrations are different, your competitors are different. So treating India as one India, if you have big ambitions, would be a fatal mistake. That's where winning in many Indias came in. Today we have divided India into 15 homogeneous clusters, relatively homogeneous. So our strategy is different for each cluster. A pack of Surf Excel will look same, but when you look at it, the formulation will be different in different parts of India depending on the hardness of the water. A pack of Brook Bond will be similar tea, but the blend inside is different depending on the palate of Indians. Now that's not easy. It adds to complexity. But if you can manage complexity, the gains are disproportionate. I think for us in the last 10 years, winning in many Indias has been a very distinct capability. The other important bit is, of course, your innovations and product superiority. People at the bottom of pyramid, they do not look at just the price. We must remember they look at value. They look at the price-value equation. People in the upper middle class and in the rich class can afford that to buy a product and discard it. People at the bottom of the pyramid, they cannot afford to do it. So even if you price them right, but give them higher value, they'll still stick to you. And when it comes to innovation, increasingly the innovations have to be on three axes. It has to meet the needs, it has to be affordable, and it has to be sustainable. And if you can meet these three axes, then it will again give you an amazing competitive edge. Just to give you an idea, that we have got detergent, powders and soaps, which use significantly less water for rinsing. Now, if a consumer has to fill up pails of water from a public water supply outlet, it makes an amazing difference that they have to bring in less pails of water to wash their clothes if your rinsing requirement of water is much lower. The third important bit is performance anatomy. Just like India has been able to lift people out of poverty trap, similarly, when you look at feticide, when you look at child mortality, when you look at gender equation, the changes that have happened in the last 10 years have been unprecedented. Sanitation and water. We always used to talk about that in India, we do not have toilets at homes, and that's the reason we had the issue of open defecation. Thanks to the focus that the government brought in the last 10 years, that problem is nearly over. It's not that it's gone away, but we are talking about significant change. And in the next 4-5 years, nearly every village in the country has been electrified. And India has over 600,000 villages. And in another couple of years, every home in India will have a drinking water tap. That's the change that is happening in India. Now, from a performance anatomy, from a business lens, I think first very important is the purpose and values. Yeah, business has to be a force for good. A brand has to be a force for good. The other important bit is leaders building leaders. Aon Hewitt had done a study a few years back, and Hindustan Unilever was rated as the third best company for building leaders globally. There are 500 CXOs in India and abroad who proudly wear a badge trained by Hindustan Unilever. And that makes a tremendous difference. There won't be any big company in the country today who in the top echelons would not have a person who has been trained by HUL. The other is high performance culture and the fetish for execution. But coming back to brands as a force for good, the troika of building trust, first is purpose, second is performance, and the third is personalization. And here I'm not talking about personalization one-on-one. You could personalize at a cohort level, just like we have done under Winning in Many Indias. But brands have to stand for something beyond the functional attributes. And I'll talk a bit about a couple of great stories of how purpose had helped us grow the brands and take the leadership. Paul Pullman, who was my boss a few years back, had this famous statement: trust comes on foot and leaves on horseback. Difficult to earn, but if you screw it up, you get hammered very fast. So never let down your consumers. In Unilever, we have 3 fundamental beliefs. Our beliefs are: companies with purpose last, brands with purpose grow, and people with purpose thrive. We never tell our people that our purpose in life is to create market cap. No. That is consequent to doing the right things. Our purpose is to make sustainable living commonplace. Let me bring it to life through a couple of examples.
दाग लगने से अगर कुछ अच्छा होता है तो दाग अच्छे हैं ना। सर्फ एक्सेल, दाग अच्छे हैं।
वापस तू मुझ में अपनी दोनों की है कहीं दास्तां अपनों के संग रंग लाए संग
नमाज पढ़ कर आता हूँ बाद में रंग पड़ेगा
अपनेपन के रंग से औरों को रंगने में दाग लग जाए तो दाग अच्छे हैं सर्फ एक्सेल
You know, Surf Excel is India's leading laundry brand. It is not about talking about just the stain removal. Surf Excel says dirt is good, basically telling the mom, let your children play. That's how they'll grow and leave the cleaning to us. That's how it's gained leadership. Now, dirt is good in its different manifestations has been playing for the last 10 years. I'll give you another great example of how we took over leadership in the tea category based on Brook Bond. Now, Thomas Brook, when he created the brand about 100 years back, had said, you can bridge differences over a great cup of tea. Look at it how we still live that promise.
चाबी नहीं मिल रही मैंने चलते हुए बैग में रखी थी
बैग में डाली तो कहाँ चली गई वहाँ निकल गई ढंग से देखो नहीं आप
चाबी भूल गए आप
जी
आइए ना हमारे यहाँ इंतजार कीजिए
नहीं हम ठीक है देखते रहो उसको इसको बाहर
सुनिए मैं चाय बना रही हूँ आइए
करो फोन ताले वाले
चाय की बहुत अच्छी खुशबू आती है इसके घर से
आती होगी तुम्हारे घुटनों में दर्द हो गया होगा तो चलो अंदर बैठ के इंतजार करते हैं
अम्मी
चीनी कितने लेंगे
कुछ घरों की चाय में अपनेपन का स्वाद होता है
चाय बहुत अच्छी बनी है
एक कप चाय और मिलेगी
जी
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल स्वाद अपनेपन का
Yeah, so Brook Bond picks up
हैप्पी बर्थडे चिराग
the societal stress points. Look at this one.
इस साल बहू ला के रहेंगे
माँ ये पल्लवी है हम लोग साथ रहते हैं बैठिए ना
मैं आती हूँ
अरे इन्हें डायबिटीज है
आंटी ये बिना चीनी वाली है और ये 2 चम्मच वाली आपकी
इलायची डाली है
हाँ
अच्छी नहीं लगी
बुरी नहीं है
कुछ घरों की चाय में अपनेपन का स्वाद होता है ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल स्वाद अपनेपन का
हे कोई शास्त्री सर आए हैं
अरे शास्त्री सर आप इतने साल बाद
कॉलेज का एनुअल फंक्शन है
लक्ष्मी सर के लिए जरा चाय बना
हाँ,
रहे
चाय। अरे नहीं रुको सर के लिए चाय मैं बनाऊंगा कॉलेज हॉस्टल में सर को मेरी चाय बहुत पसंद थी कैसी लगी सर
वही कहूँ जो कॉलेज में कहा करता था इंजीनियरिंग छोड़ दे चाय का स्टॉल खोल ले
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल स्वाद अपनेपन का
Yeah, so over the years we have picked up many stress points.
अरे नहीं भाई नहीं तू ठहरा चिकन मटन खाने वाला तेरे घर का पानी भी पी लिया ना तो माँ नाराज हो जाएगी सुन आधा कप में भी और माँ को मैं बाद में सॉरी बोल दूंगा
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल स्वाद अपनेपन का
Yeah, so the entire idea is pick up the stress points. Look at this one.
ये किन्नर भी ना परेशान करने आ जाते हैं
अरे नहीं माँ जी कुछ लेने नहीं देने आई हूँ बगल में मेरी चाय की दुकान है तो सोचिए सबको एक एक कप चाय पिला दूँ लीजिए लीजिए ना
अरे सुनो
हाँ
जरा इधर आओ।
अरे माँ जी, आज पैसे नहीं लोगी।
पैसे कौन दे रहा है? सदा सुखी रहो।
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
Yeah, the last one was about transgender. Prior to that, it was about live-in relationships. It was about Hindu-Muslim. That's what this brand does. It picks up the friction points and then leads it to how over a great cup of tea you can make a difference. Now, purpose pays and the evidence is compelling. You can drive penetration, you can attract new generation consumers, and you can reduce your price sensitivity. These are the stories. Surf Excel, India's first billion-dollar non-food brand. And with Red Label, we have taken over leadership where we were number 2 players to Tata's, and now we have widened the gap between us and them. The other important bit which HUL has been following is aligning itself with the national agenda. There is a very, I would say, a profound thinking with that what is good for India is good for Hindustan Unilever. And I'll give you a couple of examples of why we step into an arena which many may think are not directly related to us, but we make a difference.
In just a few years from now, India will have less than half the water it needs. There is evidence of a water crisis in many parts of the country even today.
जीवन तो पानी से है, पानी ना हो तो फिर क्या हो?
Water is a resource we all share as humanity. It is everyone's issue to solve for, not just the governments or farmers. India gets adequate rainfall. We need to manage it well, save enough, and use it carefully.
Indeed, this is at the heart of our work for HUF. We work with a range of institutions for a single purpose: to secure water for all.
Villages in Bundelkhand are reviving 10th century water tanks through Shramdan and smart science. In Andhra Pradesh, farmers use gamification to decide which crops to grow based on data simulations for rainfall and groundwater. Young women in patriarchal eastern UP work as professional farm advisors, training farmers to change their traditional practices to use less water and grow more. Punjab's farmers are planting digital sensors in paddy fields to record soil moisture in real time. This helps them switch their water pumps on and off as needed. In Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal, people young and old are coming together to build structures in their villages to save water during the monsoons.
HUF, along with its partners, has created a water potential of 2.6 trillion litres. That's equivalent to 2 years of drinking water for the whole of India. We have the science and the solutions to solve for India's water crisis in our own lifetimes. But ultimately, this is a movement by the people and for the people, and that HUF is committed to support.
भाई सब लोगों के बराबर बचा नहीं पाएंगे पानी, हमारे बचाने से तो कुछ नहीं होगा, लेकिन जब सारे लोग मिलकर बचत करोगे तभी पानी बचेगा.
You know, we have the mighty Himalayas, we have the rivers flowing from the Himalayas, but somehow we have not managed our water resources well. And as you saw in this AV, if we don't manage it well, in another few years, the water supply will be half the demand. Now, you may think, what had Hindustan Unilever got to do with water? One is, of course, water for public good, aligning with the national interest. The second is enlightened self-interest. When you get up in the morning, you need water for washing your teeth, hopefully with Close-Up or Pepsodent. Then you want a great cup of tea. It would be Lipton or Brook Bond. Or a coffee brew, it requires water. Then you want to go and take a shower, it will be Lux or Dove. You want to wash your hair with Sunsilk or Dove, it requires water. You come out, you want to wear squeaky clean clothes, washed by Surf Excel or Rin, it requires water. You want to have food Dishes washed by Vim. Everywhere you require water. If there is no water, Hindustan Unilever won't have its business. So rather than standing on the sidelines and bitching about the problem, we said we have to make a difference. So we've been working in thousands of villages, and now we have brought in technology partners. We do satellite mapping. To look at the groundwater tables. We have put sensors to help the farmers understand when they should be having water intensive crops and when they should be having other crops. And 2.6 trillion liters is a nice number, enough for the drinking water needs of the entire population for 2 years, but it's still a drop in the ocean for the simple reason that 80% of India's water is used by agriculture. But there is still a way to go. But if we can do it in 25,000 villages and we can make our knowledge available to all, we can make a big difference to India's journey. The other example I'm going to talk about is how we have brought in life of dignity in the slums of Mumbai. Do take a look.
मेरे बस्ती में ना कोई भी रात को पेट भर के खाना नहीं खाते. लड़की लोग, लेडीज लोग 3 बजे 4 बजे कभी बाथरूम आ जाएगा ना, बाहर जाने के लिए बहुत डर लगते.
More than 1 billion humans live in urban slums globally. They have no access to safe and hygienic toilets, resulting in serious health implications. In line with the Sustainable Development Goals, Unilever is bringing access to hygiene and safe sanitation for all. But doing the same in slums without any infrastructure was a challenge. Presenting the Suvidha Center, a unique self-sustaining community hygiene center providing safe access to toilets, drinking water, showers, and laundromats. This Unilever initiative has set up 12 such Suvidha centers. Each center has been inclusively designed for women, children, elderly, and persons with disabilities to ensure no one is left behind. They are open 24/7 and brightly lit for safety. With pricing as low as 1 cent per day, each Suvidha center provides safe sanitation to everyone. Moreover, all centers operate sustainably and save over 50 million liters of water every year. The Suvidha centers are further reinforced in the community with behavior change programs focused on hygiene and sanitation. More than 300,000 people now have access to safe sanitation. Partners are now building many more centers to facilitate access to the most basic human right, a healthy future. The Suvidha Center.
You know how society and economics is coming together in India. We spoke about that the female feticide has come down significantly. The education of girl child has gone up significantly. One of the primary reasons have been the midday meal program of the government. When the parents know that their kids will get a healthy meal when they go to school, it's not surprising that the enrollment goes up. When there is a focus of the government in ensuring that the girl child is educated, no wonder the feticide has come down significantly. And when the social norms go up, India's today women's participation in labor is about 23%. Yeah, what we achieved, what we are striving as a nation to do, double it up in the next 25 years. Now, when you free up the women from looking after the household chores, you empower the lady. And when you empower the lady, you empower the household. That's how difference is happening. The other important bit is the culture. The performance management you bring in, how you craft strategies, how do you empower and make your people accountable, and how do you ensure that you have the best employer brand across. Now, in Hindustan Unilever, if I have to describe the culture of this company, it is a classical Indian middle class mindset. The middle class mindset of hard work, hunger to succeed, and the passion to win. That's what defines the middle class in India. The other is fetish for execution. HUL makes and sells 65 billion units every year. 10,000 trucks ply the streets of India every day, carrying raw material, packaged goods, or finished goods. At US prices, the total value of the turnover of Hindustan Unilever would be close to $25 billion on purchasing power parity basis. But in India, because the prices are so low, that's the reason it is in the vicinity of about $8 billion. But that's the volume of goods that go through the value chain. The other important bit is leaders building leaders. Our focus that building leaders is not the job of HR, but the job of every leader in the company. Every leader is measured on how they track when it comes to building the pipeline. At the end of the day, great talent gets attracted by great talent and a successful business. The value creation mantra of Hindustan Unilever has been very simple. Growth outpacing the market, margins, which are now best in class. We improved the margins by nearly 750 bips over a decade. It had really gone up to 1,000 bips. Then we shrunk it during the high inflation period because we didn't want to give up on the price point packs. And our return on capital employed is in 3 digits. Very often businesses forget and they don't know how to measure the efficacy of the balance sheet. Value gets created on 3 axes: growth, margin, and capital velocity. And when you have a large business with 3 digits return on capital employed, that's the reason you can understand why the valuation of the company is $76 billion. Now, what are the learnings to win in India? First is business and brands have to be a force for good. Troika of high performance, growth mindset, distinctive capabilities, and high performance anatomy. Building great brands, purpose, personalization, and performance. Have a long-term perspective and a multi-stakeholder model. Understand that consumers are local and not global. If you want category leadership, straddle the price-benefit pyramid. Understand that India is not one homogeneous entity. Align yourself with national agenda and make a difference to the country. And I would say you can still maintain the highest standard of ethics and integrity in the country and still create immense value. The per capita consumption of FMCG products in the country is just $50. When looked at it from a lens of other neighboring countries, Indonesia is 2x, China is 3x, Philippines is 4x India. If India keeps growing at the historical growth rate of 6-7%, our per capita income will grow from 160,000 rupees to more than $1 million rupees in the next 25 years. And if we are able to accelerate the growth from the 6-7% to 8-9%, then it's going to be a quantum shift. Even with 6-7%, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you, this is going to be the biggest consumption story in the world. Thank you.